Nicholas is a Chuck. Oh my gosh, Nicholas is the OG with the rat babies, mascots for Cozy Corner. He came on here with his little underbite from the very first meeting. He is so cute. Um, okay, okay, Robin, that's okay. You're feeding the baby. Oh, Starla's the 1 year old. You have many, many years with Starla left. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do our first wheel spin. Okay. Uh-oh. Can you guys see it? It might not popped up yet. Yeah, we're good. Okay, great. Okay, so this one is for the witch quiz. So we're gonna go ahead and spin and see who wins this one. Yay! Karen won. Awesome. Okay. And then I'm gonna stop my share. Uh-oh. How do I? Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. Okay. And then I wanted to start with I love the rat babies too. Stephanie, they're so cute. I wanted to start with quotes. What your guys' favorite quotes were. I know we probably have a couple. I also wanted to announce for anybody that's watching on YouTube, we're covering The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings. And I think that we should have maybe like one trigger warning for like loss, death, abandonment, that type of thing. So if that triggers you, you might want to watch something else. But other than that, we can get started. So, Emily, did you have any favorite quotes?
I was just looking for them and I can't find them.
Oh, that's okay. I can come back to you. You can hunt and I'll
Yeah,
come
let
back
me
with.
let me see if I can find them in my notes.
That's wonderful. Okay. Gwen, did you have any?
I did the audiobook and I did not write any down this time.
Oh, that's okay. That's totally fine. Jameson?
I did have a couple. There was one that said, "It's a truth that all people should know, but they spend most of their lives working actively to forget. There is no power without the potential for harm."
Oh, that's so true.
And then when she was talking to Lyndon, she said, "Few things make me feel happier than to be alive and having an idea and telling it to a friend I respected and having them instantly take it seriously. The more things we said to each other, the bigger and more tangible the path became in my imagination. It would be so beautiful."
Oh,
Um, I just love that, like when you tell somebody an idea that you have and they get excited about it. So I thought that was really cool. And I
and
didn't write it down, and I can't remember exactly how she said it, but there was one about the only time a woman is truly safe is when she's alone.
yes, yes, her mom
Yeah.
made that point to her. Yes, you're right. Very good. Karen, how about you?
I had a couple as well. One was um, I highlighted it. It said, "How could that ever lead to a true partnership if one person made all the big decisions and the other was left to respond? Well, there's nothing I can do at this point but say okay." And then I had the other one was in every room, I wished my parents would tell me how to be the kind of person they could love, that they could like, that they could always be there for, because I was so tired of feeling not good enough.
I feel that on every level. Yes, absolutely. Really good ones. I think that was a major theme that kind of got undershadowed too, the parent thing.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Nikki, did you have any? Or any themes that really stood out to you is also another thing.
I actually had quite a few that I highlighted, but I'll just read two for now so everybody else can get a chance. One of them was it felt like when you're young and with your best friend in the world, and you look at each other and feel as if you're the most attractive, interesting, fun people in the entire room. There's nothing embarrassing about this confidence because it's the truest thing and it lets you be your best selves for hours. That one
Yeah.
hit me.
Yes.
And then the other one was we don't know if anything is real or not real. That's the curse of existence.
I 100% agree with that. Yes, absolutely. And especially in this book, I can definitely see her questioning her reality. Those are good. Udi, did you have any?
Yeah, I have a couple myself. One of them that resonated with me was some people are just the wrong flavor. It doesn't mean they're bad, they just aren't for you.
Hmm.
And that really hit me in the feels. I was like, oh yeah, because I can see how I could be that, you know? And then another one was like, all I wanted to do was live like everybody else. I didn't want to worry every night because I am different.
Oh,
And then the whole last chapter when she's describing the path and how to get there, that like was so cool.
so, so cool. It left it on such a wonderful feeling. Like I was really happy about that because I was getting a little nervous. But yes, I agree with both those two. Stephanie, how about you?
Yeah, so I have a lot too, but I'm only gonna go through a couple. Um, Sorry, I gotta find it because I typed it in wrong. Let's see, where was it? Oh, okay. Um, None of those magazines pointed toward what I knew of mortification, my brain and how ugly it was, how it was linked directly to my mouth that let ugly stuff slip from it, and how those ugly feelings were then permanently in my brain for me to consider whenever I was restless at 2:30 a.m. That just sounds like anxiety.
It is. It is.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
It's
Do you
and
have
that
another?
resonated. Yeah, I have another one. If it's easy when you feel like someone to judge another person who feels like nothing. That really hit me hard.
Me too. Me too. But I related to her a lot. It was really easy to sympathize with her, empathize. Good quotes. Robin? Oh, hi. Look at you with your beautiful hair.
um yes, I basically highlighted like the entire book. So like some of those that other people have said I had as well. But this one was like really big to me. It seemed to her that capitalism allowed anything to exist as long as someone could exploit it for money and power. And I was like, yes.
I was really hoping somebody would say that one. Uh-huh.
And then also one that really resonated with me was I could make things not to sell or to survive, but because I loved doing it. And like there's such a big like your hobbies have to become profitable. Hey. And or like you have to do this for a reason. And it's like, no, you can just do sorry, my kids are crazy. So, like, just like you can just do things because you like doing them. Like, you don't have to be good at it. You don't have to make money.
Yeah.
Say hi.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I love both of those. And I love that part of the book. And I think it gets undershadowed. Tiff, how about you?
Yes, I think I only have like one left because you guys said all my other ones. Um, oh no, I have two. So kind of along the lines of what Robin was talking about, like society, and it really reminded me of what we are dealing with in society as well. The whole talk they were giving me was reminding me again that morality and consequences were based on money. There was no such thing as morals or societal norms because it was clear again, you could do whatever you wanted if you had enough money. And then there was one other quote that I related to on a personal level, which was Joe says, sometimes I thought my ability to joke about anything, anytime, anywhere was proof something was fundamentally wrong with me. Sometimes I wondered if it was the only thing keeping me alive because I use humor all the time
Me
in
too.
often inappropriate situations too.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I laugh at things that are not supposed to be funny just to cope. Yeah. Tara, how about you?
I was daydreaming of my own shed where I could think and learn and make things. Beyond everything else, society, anxiety, money. Maybe it was hard for me to find a path out in the world because the only thing I loved was creating. And I just felt like I want to be creative so bad and I take up all these like things to try to be creative and then I get really frustrated, but I just love to keep trying it, so it just kind of resonated with me.
I love that. I love that a lot. I think we all do. Yes, our trauma made us funny. This is very true. Emily, did you find yours?
I did, and I don't think anybody said them. Okay, so I have three that really stuck out. It's a truth all people should know, but they spend most of their lives working actively to forget. There is no power without the potential for harm. That was one. Another one was, what was it like to be loved in a way that felt immutable? To not be told I was loved, but to feel it, to see it most of the time. And then I wanted to be someone who didn't flinch when the subject of me came up. There were so many things I could have told her about myself, about why I was the way I am, but I wanted Lyndon to like me. I chose silence.
That was the quote I picked. Of course. That resonated most with me. I always deflect back to the other person, so that it doesn't have to be on me. So I really related to that. Okay, guys, those were great. Let's start in on some of our questions. So, where I'd like to start is with Robin's question. Um, and I think this is a really solid theme of the book. But why do you think her mom, Tiana, will not apologize for leaving Joe and her dad with no explanation? And why do you think she never connected or contacted Joe and or her dad to say she was alive and like say goodbye in some way? And we're going to start back with Tara.
Um, I kind of think it goes along with what we talked about the last time about she like didn't really want to necessarily be a mom. And I think that she was maybe hoping that her daughter would come and like be with her when she was older. And so I think she just thought everything would work out if she just kept waiting.
I think so too. I think so too. I just don't feel like she put it as a priority. Like her own happiness, I think, just shrouded that. Tiff, how about you?
I think that like the way that that society is set up, I think that she felt like she did not have any options other than to do that because it seemed like if you were involved, if you like if she had involved them in any way, then they could have been under the microscope, and Joe probably would have been questioned a lot sooner, for like potentially being a witch anyways. And yeah, I think that they're just the more that I read, the more I was like, I think that she just felt like she did not have any other option but to just leave them that way, and that was going to be the best thing that she could do to protect them.
I think you're right. I was really frustrated with her the whole entire book until Joe went back. And then I saw everything that happened to her, and I was like, oh, well, this might make sense why the mom couldn't do anything. Robin, I know this is your question. I know you have some feelings on it. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, so I think it's a mixture of things. I think for starters, she's selfish. Like she's very selfish. Like what Joe had said about like she went to the islands, like she went to the island to try and find the treasure. She didn't go there so that she could be a witch. And she was like really like denouncing sorry, like denouncing magic even after she got there and like trying to justify it. And I think that she also thought, well, if I am gone for long enough, then eventually, they will declare me dead and she will get my message and maybe she will come here. And I think also there's a whole like side of things where she's a Black woman and a very like where they brought up a lot of the statistics of like, especially like when she said, they had all the pictures of the men that had been prosecuted and like only three of them were white. And like, where she's talking to Angie and Angie's like, well, this happened. And she's like, yeah, but was she Black? And she's like, oh, right. Yeah, no. So I think there's like that whole side of that side of it where she was like, I'm a black woman. I can't, now I'm kind of stuck here and I just have to wait. So I think it's a mixture.
Yes, I think you're right. I think it's a two-part thing. I do remember they were driving in Michigan, and Joe said it's like I can't even go 5 miles without another damn sign telling me somebody hates me in
Mm-hmm.
some different way. I think that her mom kind of felt that as well. I think you're right. Unfortunately, she just was getting hit at every angle. And then thinking about the dad and how he was so cruel to Joe. I'm sure he was to her. How about you, Stephanie?
So I think it was a mixture too, like what Robin said. I feel like the mom felt like Tiana, that she couldn't get anywhere in life because of her race and also because she's a woman and she felt very trapped. But I also do think, like Robin said, she was very selfish and just their society is just not made for women or anybody that's not white, it seems like, and that's pretty sad. And like you were saying, I was mad throughout the whole book until I saw what happened on the island when Joe went there and her mom talked to her about it.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. It's almost like her mom had survival tunnel vision. I can't decide if it's like selfish or just the fact that she like got conditioned to just survive, you know? But yeah, I agree. I agree. How about you, Udi?
I agree with all of you guys. I feel like she was super selfish. I feel like she did everything for her and to survive, yes, but you can't do that. That's so sad. It broke my heart.
It does mine too. It does mine too. It's hard. It's a lot of abandonment from both of her parents in different ways. It's sad. It's really,
Yeah.
really sad. Yeah, I agree. Nikki?
No, I pretty much agree with what everybody else said. It was definitely a mix of selfishness and like she didn't have a choice, but I'm more leaning toward the selfishness, especially when Joe goes to leave the island and she can't even stop there to say goodbye or anything like that, knowing what she's going back to. That kind of that leads me towards the selfishness more than just she didn't have a choice. I do like how you described how it was more like survival tunnel. I can definitely see that.
Yeah, yeah. I almost wonder if she was like detaching at that point, knowing what Joe was going to go back to, thinking I'm never going to see her again. She's either never going to be able to come back or she's going to die. Like
That's
just
yeah.
trying not to, I don't, avoiding. Yeah. Karen, how about you?
Um, so I agree with a lot of people. I think the mother was very selfish. I personally think that she had a choice to contact um, Joe, and I feel like the mother just didn't care enough to worry about the after facts of her abandoning her, um, what that would do to Joe growing up, um, and not having any understanding of what happened to her mom. Um, you know, um, so I definitely think the selfish part. And then I felt really bad, especially too, when her dad just abandoned her as well, like just decided, okay, I'm done with you and I'm not even gonna worry about you anymore.
That was like the
So
final gut punch for me for her. Like he was the only thing left and he just abandoned her. I don't know. I don't know. It hurt even more than the mom. I don't know why, but it just did. But yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Jameson, how about you? I'm just wondering, as somebody who was a young mom, with your kids, from your point of view and your perspective, what does it feel like for you?
It's not a thing I would have done. It seems a little selfish that she left, but I think she knew she couldn't tell her husband because she knew that Joe was gonna come. So if her husband knew that she was out there somewhere and then 14 years later Joe disappears, then there are gonna be more questions. And I think she told the only safe person that there was to tell, I mean, because Angie knew. So I think that she did that because she wanted Joe to be able to have this choice. So I mean, I think she was a little selfish, but then when Joe comes back and she's nearly killed. So you're like, well, I don't know. Like she knew Joe was magic. She knew. So she went there for this money because it wasn't for her, it was to change Joe's life.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think a lot of it looks selfish, but I don't know that it was an easy decision for her, I guess, is what I'm saying.
I think it's more convoluted for her. I love that point of view for you. Thank you for sharing. Gwen, how about you? What were your feelings?
I feel like she continually took Joe's choices away from her. The first time by leaving her, and I felt like she took a lot away from her. And then the second time, she didn't inform her where she was, what was going to happen. It was just more like, here's some money if you come to this island. And she didn't. I feel like she just didn't. Joe just didn't have all the information Joe needed to make those choices, and I feel like her mom was really selfish.
Yeah, I did not like the fact that she took so many choices away from her and set her up in positions where she could fail alone without any guidance. I definitely hear that. Good evening, Cicely. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
I'm
It
so
took
glad
me
to
a
see
minute.
you. I'm going to circle back to you in just 1 second and catch you up, okay?
Okay.
Emily, how about you? In your analytical mind, I'm wondering if you have a different viewpoint.
Can you? We've been chatting in the chat too. So can you remind me of what the
Mm,
question is? So my brain's in the right track.
I see that. Okay. Oh, she didn't. Okay. Uh-huh. I want to know where you think she didn't have the motherly bond with Joe. I have the feeling it was because she initially got a little scared, because she knew from a young age that Joe had some type of witchiness to her. Or do you
Hmm.
think she just was not maternal?
Well, I didn't get the vibe that she was particularly maternal. I had my first kid like literally a month and a half after I turned 20, and the second one at 21. So um yes, grandma 46. Um but yeah, really young. But I just didn't really get that from her. I don't think that she wasn't like a mother, like she still tried. I just don't think it was that lovey kind of bond. I think she might have intentionally kept that distance, just because she knew that Joe was a witch, that she had this like natural magical power, and so by keeping that distance, maybe it would protect her. She had seems to have Tiana seems to have this pattern of, if I pretend that it's not there, then it's not there.
Yeah.
So she does the same thing with everything. Well, I'm just going to pretend this doesn't exist. She doesn't like that the tower doesn't like her, the lighthouse. She can't go there because the spirits don't like her. She's just like, whatever. She acts like it's like it just doesn't exist. But I think she went to the island for selfish reasons. And I think that she stayed partially because she didn't feel like she had a choice. Even though we always have a choice, she felt like she didn't have one, and she just kind of does well, if I ignore everything that's going on out there, then it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and I
Absolutely.
didn't like how she got, and I mentioned that I did not like how she basically manipulates Joe into coming to the island, forcing her into this dangerous situation. And nobody tells her that if she encounters another magical person on the outside after she's been to the island, she's not going to be able to control her magic and it'll out her. They didn't tell her. And I was pissed. I was so mad.
Yes, I was really furious for that too, as well. I don't feel like that her mom protected her enough, or guided her enough. She told her tons of stories. She couldn't like help her in this arena. I saw so much abandonment for her. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Um, so this is, I'll introduce you guys if you don't know. This is one of my dear friends, and it's Sicily, right? Like Italy, like I'm getting it right. Good. Okay. And she's new, but you have read the book. And so what we've covered so far is, did you have any favorite quotes that you'd like to share?
I bookmarked some. I actually, this isn't the type of thing I would have probably come across on my own, so it was kind of delightful for me to just um, have something new and different.
I love that.
Oh, one of the things I highlighted was people with velvet sofa money. That just made me laugh.
Hmm.
Um,
I think we all picked up on that.
I'm not going to be able to find the other stuff I put in there, but
Oh, okay. And then our question that we're answering now, um, so basically, what we were wondering is, why do you think Tiana will not apologize for leaving Joe and her dad? And why do you think she never contacted Joe and her dad to say she was alive?
oh, see, I felt like she didn't apologize because she's not sorry. Really? Like, I don't think she's sorry for much.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think she tried to contact them because she's not sorry.
Wow, that's a really good way of putting it out there. I mean, honestly, Emily's like, yeah, that's basically, I can see that on your face. That's basically the bottom line. Yeah. So we are at our a large group. So if you feel like the next couple questions, if you just want to skip or you want to say somebody has already said it or you mentioned it in the chat, that's cool. You don't have to answer if you're called upon. I love hearing it though, if you have something to say, so please do. We don't have a lot of questions to cover, so I'm not worried about time that much. My question that I had that nobody had put in the chat is, I got a sense that there was bird symbolism throughout the entire book. And I was just wondering, as far as how that applies to feminism, if you guys saw any type of correlation between the two. So the underlining subject matter, reason for the book, Megan Giddings is a feminist. And so I find it interesting if she had some type of symbolism going on. So did anybody pick up on it? Did anybody have any feelings? And do you think it ties into the feminism theme? And we will start with Cicely.
I had to find my unmute. I picked up on it. I didn't think of it as tying into the feminism, but so where I grew up, the tribes, I've got actually two bird art pieces behind me from tribal artists on the West Coast. Um, so it's really like a trickster figure and an agent of change. Um,
Okay. That's
so that's more
interesting.
of what I got from it. And the reign of birds,
Yeah.
that part was like, wow, that would be upsetting.
Yeah. I just wondered. And then even as like when she goes back, like the crows in her backyard and things, like I just wonder what it is about birds that the symbolism or the imagery that she's trying to create. But I love that. So it means like a change and transformation.
Well, it's like an agent of change and a trickster. Raven's the one that goes and gets fire and brings it back. Will
Yeah.
absolutely get you in trouble, get you into some nonsense shenanigans, ruin your life, remake your life.
How about you, Emily, as a writer? Did you pick up on it and notice it? It's just all over the place.
Yeah, I did. Which of course, like Cecily was saying, but also the bird in a gilded cage is what it reminds me of, is that women historically, especially, I mean, not as much now, but in some cultures it is still very popular, but like women are, we're supposed to be beautiful and just kind of kept in these little, beautiful golden cages, and not really allowed to spread our wings and fly. And so when you have like a rain down of animal parts and blood and things like that, it's kind of the symbolism for me of how that all falls apart.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
so Maya Angelou has a book about I Know Why the Caged Bird Sing.
Hmm.
And so
I'm not that ice cream cone guy.
I saw that really tie in. And then the way that they rain down on her and like cut her open, like, and she has to put herself back together on that. I thought that was curious too. Gwen, did you see anything?
Sorry, I had difficulty unmuting. I really thought a lot about the birds and then the women that fly on the island. And how she really saw that as like a freedom thing, and she talked about wanting to fly along the sunset like Sherbert, and how that was one of her dreams, and kind of like the birds relating to that, maybe the birds meaning some kind of freedom for her.
I like that. I like that. That's kind of a positive spin with the birds. So, Jameson and I both love crows and ravens and blackbirds. I'm wondering what your take is.
I birds just mean so many different things. My first thought was like birds carry messages, or like the transformation of a soul, or just change and free. Like they just mean so many different things, but you can see all of those things in the book. Like, if she had just been able to get a message, like, I don't know, what I'm trying to say exactly. Like when she got there and the birds and they had cut her, it's what made me think of like a transformation of a soul. Like she's not going to be the same person now that she's been here that she was before.
Never going to
And
be the same.
like that, I guess that's what made me like the transformation and the like communication between the living and the dead and the gods or whoever.
I love that. I love that. Karen, how about you?
I hate to ask this, but can you repeat the question again?
Sure, sure. It was the symbolism of birds
Okay.
throughout the book. And like, do you think it ties in at all to, I am so sorry, feminism point of view at all?
Um, I mean, I did see the bird theme a lot in this book. I do think about it towards feminism as a way for women to break free, um, or fly away, when faced with such, um, I don't know how to say it, disrespect or discrimination.
Opposition,
Yes.
control.
So, and I felt that that was a big theme of the book was, the treatment of women in their society, um and how awful they were treated. That part I just couldn't believe. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki, did you think anything about it, or not even necessarily how it tied into feminism, but did it have any symbolism for you?
Um, I mean, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of hidden, but I got a bluebird on my shoulder.
Oh, I love that. Yes, I can see
So
it.
to me, like I've always enjoyed birds. I've always loved birds, and birds to me are a huge symbolism of to be free and to spread your wings and to grow. So I really appreciated seeing it all throughout the book.
Oh, okay. I love that. I love that. So I've always loved butterflies for that reason, but I can definitely see it with birds as well. Yeah, I dig that. And the wings are beautiful on your back, by the way. The detail is
Thank
so
you.
pretty. How about you, Udi? Did you notice that, like, did the birds falling and cutting her in the guts and stuff, did that disturb you? Did you think about the ones in her backyard, like calling to her?
I think they were trying to call her home.
Like the spirits from the that place that Lyndon took her? Like, do you think,
Yeah.
okay, okay, yeah.
I think they were trying to call her back and like be like, hey, like, you need to come back. Some shit's gonna go down.
Yeah, that's like almost like a warning, like leave now.
Yeah.
I
That's
like
why I
that.
was wondering about the familiar because they usually look out for their witch.
Speaking of, Mary Jane is mine. Um, yeah,
She's
she even
so
loves.
cute. I just love her.
She even does tarot with me and boops the cards. She's just, yeah, she's special. Stephanie, how about you?
So, yeah, I noticed that there were a lot of feminist takes in the whole book, and I think that the birds have to do, sorry, the birds have to do with her having freedom. But I like Udi's take on it too. But one other thing I do want to bring up is when she was flying in the air and she saw that pink and gray door, and there were screams behind it, and then she ends up going into that library or whatever it was and finding out that other people have seen it too. I don't I don't know how that ties in with the feminism thing, but maybe because women are screaming because they want to be free of this society.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How about you, Robin? Did I know you probably have some feelings on it? I'm curious. Do you feel like it was like an omen? Do you feel like it was a positive thing?
Well, so I actually looked all this up because in my rabbit holeness, like I love to do my research. So I wrote a bunch of notes about it. So first of all, I because I did notice that as well, and I had like a number of discussions about feminism stemmed from reading this book and talking to other people about it. But after all the blackbirds in her yard, I looked up like symbolism of blackbirds, and they're actually like there's like a whole bunch of they're used to represent adaptability, mystery. They're often a spiritual guide. They represent transformation and they represent intuition and magic. So I can see that she very much obviously put that in there. But also, traditionally, birds have been a BIPOC symbol as well. It's a symbol of freedom, hope, and transition. And so I thought that definitely had some to do with it. I also was reading about the ravens being a witch is familiar as well. So I thought maybe because they were gathering and talking to her, that had to do with that. But then I also found, um, so this book I think was written in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Is that so? It
You're right.
When I was searching through all this, it cropped up about the bird watcher who was had the cops called on him back in 2020 because traditionally bird watching has been a very white oriented, like white dominated space. And the black guy that was had the lady who was walking her dog, and this is like the rise of the Karens.
No
And so I
way.
wondered if that might, because just what I've read about Megan Giddings, she's very in tune with like the black culture and the black experience. So I just wondered if maybe she might be pulling a little bit on that as well. Because that like a lot of this happens like right around the Black Lives Matter and all of when all of that was happening in 2020.
George Floyd. Yeah, the George Floyd uprising.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right. It
so
is.
I wondered if she might have pulled that as well because then like that made me go down a whole nother rabbit hole about all these like apparently black people in bird watching is like they face like an insane amount of racism because of very white dominated space, and so I just found that very interesting.
That is fascinating. I never would have guessed that. But that makes a lot of sense. I will come back to that in just 1 second. Thank you for delving into it. Yes, did you have any feelings or like, I don't know, the raining of the birds and like the little guts that landed in her mouth and stuff like that, and the way she got cut, it just really, I couldn't get the imagery out of my mind.
Yeah, I almost thought that it was like a weird I almost thought it was just a weird cleansing type of situation.
Yeah.
Like they're dying, and typically dying is not ever what it means in a book. It's usually like rebirth for something different. And so that was kind of what I took from that particular part in the book.
I
Um,
love that. I love that. I got goosebumps from that. Yeah, I think you might be right. I love that symbolism that she's being reborn there, and like cleansing her of her old. I love that. Tara, did you have any feelings about it?
Well, I thought that the birds were like kind of symbolic of the ability to fly and like flying away from all the bad things that were like, impacting those people's lives. Um, but like the whole time that I was reading about the blood coming down and everything, this is super gross, but all I could think of was like a period.
Yeah.
And so it made me think of like sloughing off or like getting rid of something like old you or old things. And so that to me like stood out a lot with that whole bird and blood thing and guts. Was like almost just a new beginning.
That's a really, really excellent point. Very similar to what Tiff said. I did do my own, a little bit of research of my own Robin, and I think that, so I actually looked up to her analysis of what her symbolism was meant to be for the birds. And she wanted to display the like birds are usually, well, blackbirds typically in magic. That was part of the theme, but also she was trying to rein in on, she was unusual and different in the way that she could hear them and speak to them, and it was a way of like letting people know that she was a witch without saying she was a witch. But I love where you went with it and the way that it plays into her, because she is fiercely Black Lives Matter, huge feminist, really, really like big themed into that. So it's really curious. I wonder if there's more to it. Um, so the next question to spin off of that, I'm going to go ahead and do my favorite question. Um, and that is, this book is described as a feminist dystopia. What's your definition of a feminist? And do you think Joe is one? Why or why not? And we'll start back with Tara.
I don't really know if she is one or not. I think that she was interested in trying to make change, trying to bring on positive and like doing her own thing and not just doing what she's being told to do. But I don't really know if that necessarily fits under the feminist definition. I feel like she didn't really do a lot, and it wasn't like, advocacy for other people necessarily. It was more about what did she want and what did she need to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. How about you, Tiff?
I think that I think that Joe is definitely an advocate. She's a big time advocate for other people. She talks about that throughout the whole book. And you can tell that she like cares about the well-being of others, but I feel like that is to an extent. I think that like another theme of the book, I kind of put it in the chat earlier off of Emily's chat. Another theme of the book is like how much how much are we advocates? How much are we feminists or whatever to the extent of our own survival and the extent of like us being afraid.
Yeah.
And so I think that that affects how much of a feminist she actually is.
Or how much you can express it, or be and actively with it. I
Right.
agree. I see her mom as being hard, like a very much of a feminist, but as far as Joe goes, I think it gets lost in translation. Robin, did you what's your definition of feminism?
So I believe that feminism is any like a feminist is anyone who wants to see equality, or wants to see women treated the same as men, and whether that's cis women or presenting or whatever. I think there are different degrees of that, but I think that Joe, I'm of the opinion that it's your thoughts and not your actions that make you a feminist. So you might be very much believe that philosophy, but maybe you're not like a radical feminist that's going out and doing but I think very much that Joe was what they used to call the silent feminist, which was like that whole movement. And she very much in her head believes that she should have the same rights, and that that things are not right the way that they are. I just don't think that she really knows what to do about it so much. And I think that her mom was also a feminist, and I think that that probably has pushed her away a little bit from her actions because of her mom abandoning her, and kind of like the fallout from that.
I agree. I agree. I think it's really hard to express yourself as a woman when you don't have that motherly bond and like growing up. I think that hindered her a little bit. And I think the resentment she has to her also hinders it as well. Stephanie, how about you? What is feminism to you, and do you think Joe is one?
So I think I remember reading in the book, it said her and Angie went to a couple of protests for women. I don't know if she would be considered a feminist, but maybe like what Robin said, she's a silent feminist where she has the thoughts, but she does seem to be hindered by her mom leaving her. Her mom definitely was a radical feminist for sure, but I I think that she does want the betterment of women and to be treated equally as men. But like Robin was saying, she probably doesn't know how to do that. And that's because her mom left her. And maybe she feels like she doesn't want to be like her mom too. And that's why she's not as radical as her mom is.
She also gets a lot of conditioning from her aunts and grandma. Like a lot of the women around her, especially ones that like raised her, they all have such conflicting opinions, and none of them are really positive. I think that might have affected her as well. How about you, Udi? Which rat are you holding, by the way?
Unfortunately, this is the sick one. She has a mammary tumor.
Oh
Um, she
no.
wanted to come out. She doesn't normally do this, but
Oh,
she's out cold. She's sleeping.
I noticed you rubbing. I'm like, that's a rat she has.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. She's on her way out. She's over 2 years old now.
oh, honey,
Um,
I'm so
but
sorry.
Big
Beautiful.
Stripe is her name. Yeah.
Oh, um, so
But
yeah,
yes,
what does
sorry.
feminism mean to you? And did you think Joe was one?
I do believe that she was a feminism. As Robin has said, I do think she was a silent because the way they were oppressing not only women but just witches in general. And I feel that she wasn't able to speak out for anybody because she'd be able to, it would be speaking out for witches too, mainly because most witches are women because they only convicted what, like three men?
Mm,
And so, in my opinion, she's definitely scared. I would be too. I mean, you've
yeah,
got this huge force that they're torturing you
yeah.
for being a witch.
I wasn't scared of them until she goes back, and then I was like, okay, this
Yes.
is horrifying. You know,
And that's what, and then like, of course, her mom leaving and stuff like that. She doesn't know how to really speak out because she wasn't shown by
you're right. You're right. Nikki, how about you? Look at your baby.
Yeah, she's my soul puppy.
Oh,
Odie pretty much took the words out of my mouth.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Karen, did you have any thoughts on like, do you want to share what feminism means to you?
I agreed a lot with what Robin was saying about feminism, feeling like you want to have the same equal rights as everyone, as the men. We do live in a pretty patriarchal society. um, and women are demeaned all the time, even by our president that is coming in all the very shortly. So, um, and that's very discouraging to me. But um, whether I think that Joe, I agree with that. I think that Joe is more of a silent
Mm.
feminist. Um, she did do the protest. She was kind of um, procrastinating on, I guess, the requirements that she had to do of registering um, because it was coming up on her birthday.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I don't think that she was being very vocal about it because she was probably feeling very scared too because of the consequences
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that would occur if she did. Um, and her coming back to her area, I was just looking up again. I saw a quote that she said when Lyndon asked her, "Why did you come back?" And then she said, "Because for me, it was the right thing to do. I feel a lot of things about the decision, but I don't regret it." Um, so to me, I felt that that was brave of her because she knew what would likely happen.
I
That,
think it was selfless. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in some ways she felt like she needed to say goodbye to Angie and possibly her dad. And I don't know about Preston because she didn't know him that much. but
Right. Right.
um but she knew what she was walking into.
No,
In
she
that
understood
scene.
how severe
I
it was
mean,
going to
not
be.
probably all of it. She didn't know
Yeah.
all of it, but she knew what she was walking into because even when on the island when her mother said, "Has anything changed?"
Right.
and basically she said, "No, it's the same as it was."
Yeah. How about you, Jameson? What does feminism mean to you? And do you feel that Joe is?
Um, I mean, to me, we can like everybody thinks feminism. You're like, okay, well, we want equal rights and we want to be paid the same, and that's great, and that's also true. But I think a feminist is somebody who actively tries to stop sexual exploitation and sexualization of women and oppression of women. Like it's just it goes beyond, like, for me it just goes beyond like, oh, we just want to be equal. No, we want you to stop actively harming women. um I think Joe is a feminist, but Joe, it's not safe for Joe. I think that that's it. And I don't think that we know, like, every woman knows about being in a situation that isn't safe, but we don't know her experience of being a biracial, black, bisexual woman in that existence. Like, it just wasn't safe for her to be. I just don't think it was safe for her to be so outspoken about all of those things. But I think she believes those things.
I agree. I agree. There's not just not possible. Gwen, how about you?
I think that she went to the protest and she said that she wished they would regulate guns like they regulate women. Was one of the quotes that she had said. And I think that's a very much a mindset of a feminist. But I think it just wasn't a safe place to be a feminist anymore, especially not, as Jameson just said, a biracial, bisexual woman. She had multiple strikes against her. Already it made her stand out. So I think she did what she could do. Even in the job that she chose, which was working at a witch's history place, museum, did things like that, where she could set herself up to be of more help. But I don't think that the opportunity was really there to act as a feminist. I think she had the mindset as one, though.
Great point. Yeah. Emily? I saw a lot of your comments in the chat,
Yeah.
but I'm curious, what does feminism mean to you? Um, and do you feel that Joe is or expresses that?
I think Joe is what we would consider a classic feminist, not necessarily a silent one. I think that she chooses silence simply because of, well, like I said, and like a couple of other people have said, she has a lot going against her. You know,
Mhm.
she's a witch, she's a woman, she's bisexual, she's biracial, and speaking out for any one group that she identifies with is going to draw attention to all of those groups. And so I think in a little bit, she kind of is like, it's just easier if I live my life this way and stay out of as much of the spotlight as I possibly can. And I think that a lot of people who maybe more people who are more radical in the way that they approach things. I think that they miss that there are a lot of people, myself included, who are much more that classic feminism, that feminist there. So 100% believe all women deserve safety and deserve, all of those things, just tend to keep it more within their own community and encouraging and supporting wherever they can, but not necessarily doing things that are in the limelight as much or in the spotlight. But I think that those people too tend to be less so in the spotlight in everything that they do. So when they do like volunteer work or things like that, they tend to not put it out there that they do it. They just kind of do it.
Right,
So
right. I agree. Tiff had put in the chat. I don't think it'd be comfortable speaking out in that society. And I was thinking about it myself. And we don't have anyone in the group who, is biracial, Black, or, African American, or any really deviation. So it's hard to say what it would be like, even in our society, what it's like to speak out, from her point of view. But I think she did the best she could with what she had. Cicely, how about you?
Um, I feel like she was as much of a feminist as it was safe for her to be.
Mhm.
And I also felt like through a lot of the beginning of the book, there's a strong suspicion that her mother is dead, has been murdered, is, a body buried somewhere. So if you've grown up thinking this is the cost of being a vocal, visible feminist, is you're dead somewhere and nobody even knows where your body is. That has to keep you from being able
Express yourself. It has to be
yeah.
terrible.
And it's also kind of a constant reminder of like there's real serious consequences
Yes, yes,
because they don't know
absolutely.
if did some random person abscond with her? Did the government come and take her away?
Right,
Did
right,
I mean, and they can burn you for anything.
right. And she went through
So,
that for 14 years of like thinking that. So it had to have, impressed upon her.
yeah. So I felt like for her circumstance, she's as as much of a feminist as she could be,
Yeah, absolutely.
without being almost suicidal, I think, in that society.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have a question for you guys all, and you can thumbs up or thumbs down. I'm really curious. Um, would you have gone? So you get to the island because she gets there, she goes there blindly. She has to go. It's her mom's dying wish. And you get there. Would you have stayed or would you have gone back? So if you would have stayed, thumbs up. And if you would have gone back, thumbs down. Wow. Okay. Okay. I love that. I love that. I knew it was going to be a mix. So the very last question is so awesome, and it is, why would you have gone back? So, or why would you have stayed? Because it says you like a utopia. but it's not. There are drawbacks. So, Cicely, what would have kept you there? What would have made you leave?
I think, and that's something I totally relate to because of my own family history. But she had this experience of somebody super important in her life just being gone without a word, without an explanation. Nobody ever knows what happened. And I felt like she didn't want to be someone that did that. Even as imperfect and screwed up as her family members are, she didn't want to do that to them, and she didn't want to do that to her best friend. So I wouldn't be able to do that to my kids or my partner or my own wildly screwed up family either.
Me either. My abandonment schemas I wouldn't be able to live with myself. There's no way. Yeah. Although I'd probably want to stay. Emily, how about you?
Um, yeah, I agree with Cicely there. I, I'm one of those people I can't do to other people what they've done to me. So it unfortunately has bitten me in the ass a few times. But I couldn't abandon. Plus, I'm annoyingly positive and optimistic. You guys pretty much know that. So I kind of do I can bring more light and I can bring more joy and creativity and teach and help people grow and help, if I'm not in an environment where everybody is exactly like me. I mean, if I only hung out with other neurodivergent autistic people, I think it'd be weird.
Yeah, it can be.
So
It can also be very familiar and
it's also
comforting.
very fun because we are our own unique little strain of weird. But
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I would. That's why I would go back. That and I wouldn't be able to abandon my family, which
Right.
we're all weird. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Gwen, I'm curious your response. You said you would stay.
Well, if it was my situation was exactly her situation, it was just a friend and a dad. And the dad never been like all that close with really, she even talks about her relationship with him, that it's not really that close. That he, writes I love you in a birthday card. And that's the kind of love he has for her, and that's it. That and mom's not any closer, but she has the chance to build relationships with people who are like her on the island, and it's safe. She knows and going back. I mean, when I read she was going back, I'm like, they're gonna kill her. They are gonna kill her. They are gonna burn her alive. She's a witch. She now has her witchy powers. So I think for safety reasons, I would stay. I wouldn't go back in that situation. If it was my life, current life, and my current situation, I would go back. But in her life and her current situation, I would stay.
Good answer. How about you, Jameson?
Um, in her situation, the entire time that she's on that island, I'm like, bitch, go back and get Angie. Go now. Go get your best friend and then go back to the island and live happily ever after, please. And that's me. I could not have left my best friend. I would have come back and been like, we have to go. We have to go to this island right now. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like she wasn't that close to her dad, and she doesn't want Preston to know so that they can't interrogate him like the whole time. I'm just like, go get Angie and go. That's it.
Yeah. Angie would be my reason for going back. It was her soul person, her family, her heart. I could not leave her behind. Karen, how about you?
I was one of the ones who said I would stay. So, um, I think that Joe was happiest there on the island, and I know she felt an obligation for Angie. But in her situation, there had to be some way to get communication out because her mother did it to her, um, to get communication out, and um, so I feel like it wouldn't necessarily have been the end of Angie and Joe. So I personally would have just stayed. I In her situation, not in my current situation, but in her situation, I would.
How about you, Nikki?
So I originally said that I would have came back, but I'm in the situation where like if it was today, right here, right now, I definitely would have went back. I wouldn't have left my family, my husband, my kid, my dog, none of that. Now, if I would have been asked this 10, 15 years ago, absolutely. Like it just all depends on like what situation you were in. Because 10, 15 years ago, I didn't have my daughter, I didn't have my husband, I wasn't close with my parents, and I absolutely would have stayed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends on your attachments that are left behind. Udi, how about you?
I said I would go back because I wanted to be Angie.
Yeah,
That's your best friend. Like I gotta go give her. And then I would have tried to bring Party City with me, especially after the life they just built.
I know, I
But
know.
me personally, I don't think I would have been able to stay. With a mom who doesn't care about me, nah, I'd rather go back to, people who do care about me.
Yeah. Stephanie, how about you? I'm really curious about your answer because you've lost your mom, and she thought that she lost her mom. And so she got to be reunited with her mom, even though it was a little bit toxic. What would that be like for you in Joe's position?
So, if I was in Joe's position, I would, I mean, my first thought was, please go back and get Angie. Please go get her. That's your best friend. That's your family. Your dad doesn't give two shits about you. I mean, just go get your friend. And I was really impressed that Preston stepped up the way he did. And I think he should have went back with her because I think he would have went with her, to be honest, but she was in a tricky situation anyway. I mean, yeah, her mom didn't really care that much about her, and that's sad, but at least she has Lyndon on the island,
Hmm.
and Lyndon went to go find her. But the thing that got me was Angie knew the whole time because she ended up getting the two dolls. So that's what, I mean, so she knew, but she's not gonna have the same life without Angie. That's her, her
Person.
soul sister. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah,
her soul sister.
I know. I know. That was my whole reason too. Robin, how about you?
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute. Could you just repeat the question as it was stated? We had a bleeding toddler situation.
Basically, I did a thumbs up and thumbs down. If you would stay or you would go, and whatever your reason was, why for you, and if you were in Joe's position, how would you feel?
So I was not here for that part, but I would stay. I personally would stay. Because as someone said earlier, there is obviously a way to get information out. So I think that I could get the information to the people who needed it to know where I was and etc. But if if I went somewhere where I could be 100% myself, and like especially if I discovered at that point that, oh, magic's real and I have it, yeah, I'm not leaving. So and then and then on top of that, if I were in Joe's position, I would have stayed as well. I was really irritated with her for leaving because again, she could have got something out. And all the people who are saying I would have gone back for Angie, I would not. I would have sent her a message for sure. But I feel like throughout the book, there were so many like, yes, Angie is gay, but she's white. Angie is gay, but she's white. Angie is her best friend, but she's white.
Right.
Whereas, like, so I kept getting the feeling like, even at the end, when it's like Angie's going to get married, she's getting this like arranged marriage that's going to work out, in this way. Yeah, I love a lavender marriage. I was like, I knew that she would be fine. Like she did not need to come back and tell anybody where she was or what happened or who that her mom wasn't dead. Like I was so irritated when she came back. I was like, but why? Plus, she has Lyndon, and I was like, she should just be with Lyndon.
Yeah. I wondered that as well. I did too. Tiff, how about you?
My thing is like, I would not have gone back, and I don't think that Joe should have gone back. I understand the wanting to go back for people that are important to you, but like, she could do magic there. She was literally talking about like creating a path for people to be able to get there. So like, why wouldn't she just stay there and figure that out and then get Angie to come to her?
Very brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Tara, did you have feelings?
I was so mad when she went back. Because I just knew that like she was gonna have nothing but a horrible time. And I felt like there was nothing really other than Angie, but nothing else really that was like keeping her there. I mean, she wasn't being treated well, she wasn't getting anywhere really. And I just kept thinking, like, why didn't she stay there and just stay with Lyndon? Because she said later on that she would always be like part of her would always be in love with Lyndon. So it's like that could be your new best friend, or that could be, somebody that you're with, whatever you guys decide. But then when she went home and Angie had like moved on, I was so mad and I was like, I don't like you anymore.
I was very frustrated too. I was
Yeah.
very frustrated. Okay, so I have two things I need to do. I want to ask you guys one last question. It's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Um, do you think that she will, because she'll be free to love whoever she wants on the island, do you think that and we think Preston stayed behind, do you think that she'll end up with Angie? You're going to put a thumbs up. Or if you think she'll be with Lyndon, put a thumbs down. Yeah, it's unanimous. They got a great vibe going. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. This is our last wheel spin. This is for the one we did on New Year's Day. When you commented your favorite book that we read, that we went over. So I'm going to do that right now. 1 second. Okay. There we go. Can we see it? Did it pop up yet? Yeah. Okay, cool. All right. Let's do this. Yay! Congratulations, Gwen. That's your first contest winning. Okay, and then the last thing is Delena's book one. So this is the new book, and it's All Good People Here from Ashley Flowers. So we are going to start this book, and by next Sunday, we are going to read to the end of chapter 12. And I will put that, of course, in the YouTube, post on our group. Is there any questions or anything you guys want to add that we didn't cover? No, nothing? Oh, great. Okay. Well, this was wonderful. Thank you, Gwen, for picking a phenomenal book. It was really interesting to cover and I think so important. This new book is going to be really spicy, I think. So I'm excited to get started on it. And I hope you guys have happy reading and a wonderful week. I love you all.